think it's all a part of establishing that culture that we talked about, and just to allow people inside to give them a thought process of how me and Coach try to approach things. We ain't gonna give them all our secrets though.
Right. I think our biggest win is that we're carrying on the culture from last year. So that's kind of like a big plus for us, because last year we were, we way ahead of where we were last year as far as practices, 6-7 practices last year. We're nowhere near where we are this year. We're much ahead of like the season ended and we started right back again as far as the culture.
Yeah, because I tell you, last year and I always felt this way, that coaching is also part counseling and mentoring. And we didn't get to coach much last year. It was a whole lot of mentoring. And, but this year is strictly basketball, so it's been good.
I think another thing that gave us a head start, Coach, was we bring back 5 out of the 13. 5 or 6 out of the 13 from last year.
6 from 30, out of that 13.
Yeah. So they kind of help us plant that culture. So that was, going in with last year. I know I did. I think you too, Coach. We went in with 13 new people and a new assistant coach and a new head coach. Mm-hmm. So it really took a while to get to to get that, like you say, get out of the counseling phase and into the coaching phase, and then the season ended on us.
Yeah, because we didn't have an idea or the depth of disconnect that they had going on, and it's no knock, because that's just part of any team or organization building. Sometimes when that's all you know, then that's how you flow. But when you're shown something different and you see how it just changes, personalities, interactions, relationships, then you start to see that, man, we were really off base with what we were doing. So, and it was no knock, because again, that was, Fredericksburg was a new organization. Granted, they were 4 years in, but they had changed staffs a couple of times. So, I'm pretty sure with me and Coach, we're in this thing for the long haul.
Oh wow! I did not know that they changed staff like a couple of times. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one good thing, when you bring in a coach that's won a championship, the buy-in should be real easy. Because he's been there and he's done it. He got the blueprint. All you got to do is just follow the blueprint. And it was real hard getting them to buy into the blueprint just based off, previous staff. Nothing against fellow coaches. We all as coaches is like a fraternity. Nothing against the previous coaches, but when you bring in a coach that's won a championship, that's enough right there. When you got that blueprint, you got to listen and follow his lead. He's been there. He knows what he's doing.
Yes, yeah. Experience is the best teacher. And I've always, even at this point of my career playing and now coaching, is that one thing that me and Coach always talk about, man, you gotta be a student of this game and learn something new every day. So we're always reading, looking for just different things that, are going to help establish that culture and just bridging the gap between us and the players in this generation. And I think we've done a great job with that going into our second year. And it just shows what the amount of people that we had at our tryout and just the respect that they're showing in the whole process this year. It's been pleasant. It's been very pleasant this year.
All right. And we've had the crazy thing about it is they've always had good talent. We got great talent this year, but they've always had good talent. They just never been coached. There's been, like I say, we coaches in fraternity, so I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about coaches. But Mike Krzyzewski and the guy from Bowie State, two different coaches. So better is better. But when Coach Brown came in, the mentality was, let's take that talent and turn it into a team. If we could take that talent and turn it to a team, we'll win a championship. And like I say, later in the year, last year, when we finally became a team, the season ended on us. I would love to see how far we could have went as a team, because we were really clicking and got rid of a lot of things that was holding us back, to where we was ready to do some good things, because the talent ran into good coaching and it became a great team. So this year we're starting off from a good point, and if we just continue that and continue teaching the guys, everybody can play, but a lot of them don't know the game. Once they sit down and listen and learn and know the game and buy into the blueprint, I think we're gonna do some big things this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Shade, in our first year, because me and Coach G just met last year at the trial.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And we had about the conversation was long, but within 2 to 3 minutes, I told Vince, our owner, I said, I got to have him as my assistant coach, bro. And there were some things that, with my background coming from Richmond Elite, the initial plan was for the entire staff to come. Ran into some philosophical differences, and that didn't work out. But I always say, the setback, the setup, that setback is a setup to move forward. And I really feel like me and Coach G coming together was a perfect storm. I couldn't ask for a better assistant coach. And we bounce and complement each other very well. And I think the stronger that your team is on the bench as far as the coaching, the better your team is going to be on the floor. And I really believe that the team sees that unity and that bond that we have, and it's like they have no choice but to follow our lead. So it's a very good start into our second year, because we did a lot of groundwork last year. A lot of groundwork.
Right. So we got a good foundation now.
I can definitely tell, like, from a structure perspective, like, you guys have a really good idea of like what you guys want to do. And it's very, very evident, like, especially like on the defensive end, like when the players are like really locked in defensively, like it is like, and I only seen one game of you guys. It is a very scary thing to go up against that. Like, it is absolutely scary when it's actually clicking on all cylinders.
Coach, if he thinks it's scary from that one game, from that one scrimmage, wait until we really put our fingerprint on him as far as how we really want our defense to look. I think it may go from scary to frightening.
Right.
It's funny. We kind of push them to a limit to exceed what they realize they're capable of. And a lot of times it's just having the right people to motivate you and put you in the positions to succeed. And even if that was something that wasn't your strength prior to playing for us, we've given them that confidence, and they bought in to understand that it's two ends to the basketball court. And we want you to be a complete player. We don't want you to be great on the offensive end and you're deficient on the defensive end. And, that's can we own it and say it's our fault? No. But now that we have you and you're under our umbrella, we're going to demand that of you and set that expectation that personally we want you to buy in, where you don't have to be pushed to play defense. You don't think that's the boring end of the court. You're going to have just as much energy on that end as you have on the offensive end.
That's a good point, Coach, because I think we're at the point to where, when me and you always talk about starters and 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 12 or 13. We got 7. No, we got 13 people can play one end of the floor, but the 5 starters are fighting for who can play defense.
Mm-hmm.
We could take any of those 13. If any 5 of those play defense, they could be the starting 5. That's how solid we are up and down the roster. But you're not going to be able to start or get major minutes if you can't play both ends. And you may be the best offensive player on the team, but you're not starting because you're not a two-way player. So we're spending most of our time now looking for two-way players, and that's going to pretty much determine. I think coaches with me too. Who's going to be the starting lineup? Because if we don't play defense, we could put up 135. I've seen some games, coach, we put up 150, almost 160.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't give up 135, 140 while we're doing that.
No.
So the game you seen, we didn't necessarily watch it as what we did. We watched it more of what we're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we've seen so many deficiencies, because we know what we're capable. We know what we're capable of, and if we play what we're capable of, it'll be a whole different game than what you seen just then.
Yeah, because when I was actually going through the video and going through the editing process, definitely like within the first 2 quarters, or first and second half, whatever you want to call it, I'm looking at the Grizzlies, and I'm looking at the Titans.
Oh man, that's my son. I'm gonna step away for a second. That's my son. Sorry about that.
No, you good, you good.
Yeah.
I'll be
Go ahead.
kind. Oh, okay. But yeah. I'm just going to put him on mute temporarily. There we go. Anywho, but yeah, coach. I remember like when I was like watching like the first 2 quarters, and I was like, even though I seen them play a couple of times during practice, like I know if they would just focus just a little bit, like 5-10%, like they could be a much better team. And then they just focus just a little bit. It wasn't even a lot. And
Yeah.
it was like night and day.
Definitely.
And that's like in my mind, I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Like if they just have that focus and that discipline, that's what my mind was thinking, like, oh, this could be a scary team for real. This is not a
Yeah.
team I want to play against for 40 minutes or 60 minutes. Like if they can take that good part from that third quarter and then just expand it all the way throughout the game, like
Mm-hmm.
ooh,
Yeah.
no.
And truthfully, Shay, I know everybody has a different philosophy when it comes to how to play defense. And I'm just a firm believer that when it comes to the game of basketball, it's one speed, that's game speed. The only way to play defense to me is to be proactive versus reactive. So we have this thing that we like to say where we dictate. Just because you have the ball doesn't mean you can go where you want at the pace you want. So we have this thing where we want to dictate that. If you want to bring the ball up a particular side of the court, we may try to take that away just to throw your rhythm and timing off. So it's all about everybody being engaged and buying in, because at the end of the day, we always say offense puts people in the seats. Defense wins championships, and wins championships. So that's our goal. Is like Coach said, he referenced earlier. COVID really threw us for a loop in more ways than one last year, because right as the season ended, as all coaches want to do, you want to peak right at playoff time, and we had hit a rhythm that I think we'd have made a deep run, and we'd have been on our way to New York to compete for a championship. There was one particular game, and I think Coach will remember, we were against the Woodbridge Wolves, and we had been beating them pretty much the majority of the game and had a handy, probably 20 lead, Coach.
Yeah,
And
it was up 20
yep,
plus.
and we substituted and allowed them to not only get back in the game, but they took a lead on us, and we had to hit a shot at the buzzer to send the game into overtime. And then we get into the overtime and we go down 8 points. And I think we called a timeout with a minute 12, coach, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Just under 2 minutes.
Yep. We challenged them. We put a couple of things in play that we wanted to do. And funny enough, we turned it around and cut that 8-point lead down. I think we ended up winning that game by 4 points.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's not many teams that, and I won't say team, many players that are going to believe that is capable of coming back and winning that game. But we just say, we compete until the horn goes off. And at the end of the game, we had positive results from it. So that defensive part, if we can do that in a 2-minute stretch, if we do that from jump ball till the end of the game, that's going to wear teams down. And we're deep enough where we can pick a player up full court and play that style of ball to, play our brand of basketball, Grizzly basketball. And I think it's exciting to basketball purists who like to see competitors. I don't believe in letting the other team bring the ball up the court leisurely. Make them feel a little discomfort. So,
right.
It's good to see when, like you said, when all 12 players are on the same page.
I think focusing on that early, like we've been focusing on it early, will let them know that we're not here to see who can score 50 anymore. We're here to see who can get 1 or 2 important stops. One of the things that it didn't hurt us last year, Coach, but I think one of the things that we wish we could have had better, when we brought in our defensive team or our defensive specialists, it seemed like we lost a little bit offensively. We didn't have that real two-way player that could score 30 and hold their man to 10 points. We had some guys that could score 6 or 4 and hold their man, when we needed him to be held. But if we could bring in a 20-point scorer and he can play defense, we're going to be tough. There will be no fall off. Then we could play, like Coach was just saying, if our starting 5 wear you down, our second stringers get ready to kill you. And then we bring that starting 5 in, and they wear you out again. It's it shouldn't be no decrease in we up 20 and bring the second unit in, and they cut it to 7, and then we got to bring our first unit back in to try to get back in and take the lead back. We got to be able to maintain that constant defense, dictate defense for the whole game, up and down the whole court. If we lock in defensively, like I know we can, and they buy into it, I don't care if we win 2-0, but if we lock in defensively, we can really hold some teams from doing what they want to do.
Yes, sir. I totally agree.
Yeah, you guys definitely made a believer out of me for sure. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, we had that. That was a good first game. Like I said, we've been beating each other up in practice, so that was a good first game. But I don't think the guys were ready to play. I think they wanted to play, but I don't think they were ready to play. And that kind of falls on the assistant coach lap. I brought that up in our meeting that, as the assistant coach, I'm responsible for player development. So when we get to the game, all the coach got to do is manage the game. He don't need to be worrying about attitudes. He don't need to be worrying about this guy did this. He just needs to manage the game. And I want to get him to a point to where once he's coaching, he don't have to manage these attitudes and why this guy didn't come out on the screen or why this guy doesn't know the offense. All that got to be taken care of in practice. So when it comes game time, he can manage the game. If we let him manage the game, we'll be wearing the ring too.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been coaching now 20 plus years, and I've had great staffs and been on great staffs. And I must say, as our owner Vince calls us, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. When we get in the lab, man, we go to work and it's fun. It doesn't feel like work, and like you said, the bond that we have established. Here's my other assistant coach, my son Josh.
Hey, Josh, what's good, man?
It's exciting and just at 53, I'm still a kid when I get in that gym and I get around the game. That's that excitement that comes out of it. And some people are like, you're passionate. Yeah, because I still have that fire for the game, even coaching. And I think it's rubbing off on the players, and they already know what to expect. We don't have to create that in practice as much as we did last year. And that's the exciting part. We see the growth in the 6 that have returned from last year. Each one of them are completely different players than they were last year. And again, as Coach said, no knock on the previous coaching staffs, but I think there's a way that you can pull things from players individually and collectively to reach that goal that we're trying to. So it's always exciting when we get in the gym. The day of practice, we start talking first thing in the morning in our group chat got practice this evening. Who's coming? And we start that interaction. And again, it's just part of building that rapport and establishing that culture.
Right.
I'm about to say, who are your returning 6 players, Coach?
Starting point guard, Tim Turner. We have Nick Hall, who's going to play the 2. Quentin Jones, who could go 2, 3, 4 for us. Terrell Smith plays in the middle. Quentin Moorhead was our starting point guard last year. Joe Posey, sharpshooter. Need to guard him as soon as he gets off the bus.
As soon as you get off the bus.
Yeah. So those are our turners. Then we also have Yeshua Jenkins, who played for them the year before me and Coach got there. He came back last year, but it was deep in the season, and honestly, it's hard for a player to come join us late in the season because we've raised the level and we have an expectation. So if they haven't been playing ball and know our system, it's going to be hard for them to come and fit. But he came back in this year from the beginning, and Coach and I both were like, man, where was this guy last year?
Right. Yeah.
He's going to be a big addition for us, and he's going to surprise a lot of people because a lot of people know about him. And he's another one, unlimited range. So we have a solid team with the returners, and even with the additions that we've added to the team, we feel like there should be no drop-off when we have to substitute. Like Coach said, if we really plan on doing our starting lineup based on who we're playing and what the matchup looks like. So we want everybody to be familiar with starting and coming off the bench. So there's a comfort level. And when it comes playoff time, everybody's in a good rhythm and they play with everybody. So we know everybody's tendencies.
And Coach, last year, I can remember last year we were at a point, sometimes, something's missing, something missing. I just hope that comes through the door. Now we're at a point now where please nobody else come through the door. Nobody else. We got what we want and the pieces we want and to maneuver them. And every time somebody comes through that door, if you can't move a starter out, the coach is not going to invite you back out. So every time you come in to try to join the Grizzly, if you can't move a starter out, then you probably can't make the team. But if somebody walks in that door and they can start for the Grizzly, it makes it real hard for us because our 13th guy can start.
Yes.
So we're at a point now to where we're trying to close the door, and that's a part of creating that culture that we're talking about. To where now there's always been this incredible talent in the Fredericksburg area.
Yes.
But the culture now is just making everybody want to come play for Coach Brown. They know what he's done. They know he knows the game, and everybody now wants to come play for him. And we just don't have no more room. That's a good thing for us because last year we had room. We had a revolving door because we had room.
Oh
But
man,
this year, if you come in now and you make the team, you were really really good.
yeah, and
You
you've
were
earned
really really good.
you earned it.
Yeah.
And last year because uh, some changes came about so quickly. As far as me coming on, taking the job, and then uh, having to drop back and punt, and find another assistant. Because one thing that I've learned, and it's just like with basketball, uh, you're not going to mix and gel with anyone.
No.
And I think my time and experiences in Richmond were preparing me for this moment in time, and I couldn't ask for a better gift in an assistant coach than Coach G. Uh, and it's funny. We talk basketball. I don't even think the players realize how much me and Coach talk outside of
Right,
practice
right.
about what we need to do, what we want to do, where we want to be. Um, and and again, like you said, whenever we're discussing this game, they probably laugh at us because we both exude an excitement when we're talking about the game, and that right there can only translate to success. And we're not perfect, but there's not much that we miss. We try to cover it all, and a lot of times he will piggy tail on what I'm saying, or I'll do what he's saying, and it's like we're finishing each other's thoughts. So, again, when we're trying to establish that culture and style of play, there's only one voice, and that's coming from both of us. So, as he said, even though I'm the head coach, I can't be as effective without him sitting by my side. And I'm just being completely honest about that. A head coach to me is only as good as his assistant coach, and he makes my job easy. Uh, and I have to sit back and laugh because I said, man, I feel like I'm looking at you when I was an assistant coach. And he's not doing it like it's a weight on him. He's loving it. And I feel like the more I give him, the more challenge he is, he's responding to it. So it's a good fit. And I think, again, the players kind of sometimes when me and him are interacting, they're looking at us like, man, our coach is tripping. No, we're not tripping. We're brainstorming to challenge
Right.
y'all to that level. Because one thing, the collective message that we've heard from each of them is, Coach, I don't care about my stats, and I want to win. We haven't won anything. I want to win something. So, as we told them, drink the Kool-Aid, and we're going to walk this path together. And I think we're in our second year. We're at a good point to reach that goal.
Yeah, and it took them a while to get to that point too. Because
Yeah.
first early on, I have to say it first early on, it was who can make Sports Center, who's gonna make Sports Center. I got to score 40 so I can make. Never mind win or lose, I got to score 40 so we can make Sports Center. I got to score 40 because my wife is in the stands. Now, like you say, they're at that point now. They just want to win, and when you get a team to that point to where it's all about winning versus the I, you got something to work with then. You got something to work with. And to piggyback
Yeah.
on what you said, Coach, I told Vets a long time ago, I wouldn't have been here if you were there, if you weren't here. Because if I would have walked in that gym that night that I met you and that last coaching staff was in there, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just keeping it real. I knew
Yeah.
the first couple minutes I seen you out there, I said I could work with that guy. And I knew I could work with you because I knew you could mentor me as a professional assistant or professional head coach one day. If I'm not challenged by my boss, then I don't need that boss. And I knew that not only were they going to learn from me and you, but I was going to learn from you. So that's why I drunk the Kool-Aid the first night just off our conversation and seeing you out there, interacting at the trials. I drunk the Kool-Aid the first day. And I knew that with what you was bringing to the table based off your resume and how I can assist you, I said we can get him there. It may be hard for a little bit, and it was, but I knew if once they just sat down and put some ice in their Kool-Aid and drink it, they're gonna be standing on the podium putting on rings. And last year we had our good shoes on, get ready to step on the podium, and they slipped it from under us. But we'll be back. We'll be back.
And coach, and as crazy as that is, we've talked about it. I said everything happens for a reason. Last year we didn't want to hear that. We was just all of us, I think, were disturbed and upset that we couldn't finish because we had put that work in, and they were starting to see the results of doing it our way. And when I say our way, not me and coach's way, the Grizzly way. They had returning players that had been there, but you know what? We had to mentally do a 360 and change our thought processes. If you don't change your thought processes, your actions can't change. You don't change your actions and then change your thoughts. You change your thoughts that dictate the actions that you want to portray. And like Coach said, there were moments last year we were like, man, what are we missing? What are we not doing? And the whole time, I think it was just us holding them accountable and staying true to what we were trying to establish. And it's paying off. It's paying off.
Oh, yeah. We're reaping the benefits now.
Yeah. So that culture, and we talked about, what we wanted to discuss today, and me and Coach talked, and the first thing I said was culture. That was one of the big things last year that we were trying to establish. And Coach, sent the message to him. He said, Coach Brown is only here for one reason. And if you're not here for that same reason, you're not going to work out. He said he's here to win a championship. So if you're not on board with that, you might want to find another team. But then he furthered it before we even talked about it by coming to practice with some index cards. And he said, Coach, check this out. And on each index card, one word. And it was all about morals, attitude, commitment, sacrifice, and respecting the game. So it was, you know what? Lift your teammates up. Let them know we did something good. Don't get on them when it's something bad. And it started to spread, like he said, just like a disease can spread and be bad, and positive, infectious things can spread that helps create that culture. And there were two things that really need addressing last year. And I think I'm pretty positive Coach will agree that we did a great job in eliminating that.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have that problem this year at all.
Right. And this year, they know we'll hold them accountable this year. Mm-hmm. They know. Last year, I give it to them. Last year, they were probably feeling us out like we were feeling them out, and they broke a lot of people. But once they found out they weren't going to break us or break what we got going on, they knew either you buy in or you get out of this store.
Yeah.
And once they bought in, if they there this year, they want to be there.
Yeah.
Because they know how we coach. So if they're there this year, when you walk back in that door from last year to all the returners, this is what I read on them when they walked in the door. I want to win. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna buy into what you say. I'm good with how you coach, and I'm gonna do what you tell me to do. Because they know that's part of our philosophy or our makeup. So when they walked in the door, that lets me know that they're okay with what we're trying to get them to do. And everybody, another thing with our culture that I see, especially my returners, and most importantly, my point guard. I want to be able to have a rough conversation with you because I got to push you to the point because I can't run up and down the floor with you, but I need my voice coming through you while you're out on the court. So we can have a fragile conversation. because I'm going to constantly be pushing you because you're leading the train. And the better I can get the driver of the train to operate, the better my train operates.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't, our returners, we can't have fragile conversations. We got to, you got to know when I come to you, it's for the betterment of the team through you. If you don't want to be that voice, then get out the way. We'll give somebody else that voice. But if you're going to be that voice to lead coach's offense or to lead his team, you got to be able to take constructive criticism, or you got to be able to suck up everything I teach you. And it might not come out how you want to hear it. All right. But don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say. If we can do that as far as our returners, and they'll filter that down into our new players, we're going to be all right. But we can't have fragile conversations because there's so much we want to push in and pour in you that you got to be able to just take it, put it in your database, and give it to the rest of the team while they're on the court. So that's another thing, and that's constantly work. I think, especially with we got some fragile guys sometimes. We got some fragile guys sometimes. But if we can do that, we'll be good.
I mean, you gotta remember, like the game of basketball is you're managing egos. You're not just managing skill set. You're also managing the ego of each player and trying to convince each player, hey, listen, like I know you're trying to do this, but for the betterment of the team, I need you to do this. I know you want to do this, but to make sure that we all win. Because if you do your job and I do my job, and we all do this together, we all get to eat. We all get to eat. We all get to have that championship ring on our finger if we all do what we're supposed to do. And I can tell, just from, you guys' interactions on the court and now even off the court, you guys are like this. You guys are close. You guys are real. You guys are authentic. You guys gonna keep it transparent. So when I see you guys coaching the players, it's literally like, to me, I was a vision like a father or a father figure try to mentor a young man or try to mentor a son. Like, hey, listen, like I've been through life. I've seen the good and the bad. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I'm trying to help you get to where you're trying to go quicker because I want you to be better than me. Like that's what I see. And so when I see you guys coaching, it's like they're not saying anything wrong and they're not saying anything to hurt you or to make you feel bad about yourself. They're saying these things like, listen, if you do exactly what I'm telling you to do, you will get to the prize. You will have the ring at the end of the day. Like that's all I want from you. And so to me, like it's really easy for me to kind of sit back, like, hey, you know what? Like, shoot, they know what they're doing. Let me just pull out this camera. Let's get this film. Let's put that media out there because they got a game plan.
Yeah, we
They
definitely
got it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Shade. What Coach said about we can't have fragile conversations, and I always say there's multiple ways to reach your destination, but if some just fundamental principles are not a part of that journey, then like Coach said, there are going to be some bumps along the road, but those bumps shouldn't detour you from your ultimate destination. And there are a lot of times last year where, and the coach will agree, hold on, why are we taking this exit? This is not right. You go, like, hold on. You see what I'm seeing right now?
How did we get here?
Yeah, and it would be during some heated moments, but we're competitive enough where we can laugh at ourselves at certain moments to still get that message across. And that's what we did a lot of times when some of those adverse moments came up. And, it was funny that we get in the locker room and I think they just waiting for us to blast them. But we ended up taking a lighter route, but the message was still received and they know we were just as serious. So we know when to really put our stamp on it, or to meet them where they at to give them that message, and they've been open to it. So it's like you said, with we can't have the fragile conversation, but one thing I think me and Coach both have been excellent with, and never to insult or tear anyone down. The transparency has been there from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed true to that. And I think, again, that just goes a long way in earning that trust, where, like you said, you can see them executing what we're trying to do without that resistance.
The buy-in is there.
The buy-in is there.
Coach, one thing, I'm a military guy, and part of being a drill sergeant, right? You got in the Army, we call red, white, and blue phase. In the red phase, when you're in basic training, everywhere you go, the drill sergeant's there. He marches you everywhere you go. He puts you to sleep. He takes you to your meals. After you eat, he marches you back to training or whatever you got to do. So once you get to where you're good with that, then you can move on to the white stage. And the white stage is the drill sergeant. He just comes and checks you in formation. He may march you to eat, and then he lets the platoon leader or whoever march you back, and you do what you do. The blue stage, where you hardly ever see the drill sergeant. You get up and you march yourself over to be at class at such time, march yourself to be at training such time. So you got those three phases. And last year we spent so much time in what I call the red phase, to where, man, coach had to always dictate, monitor, teach, coach. We spent so much time in that phase that when we got to the white phase, it's like, okay, do we trust them to be in the white phase? Do we trust them to go out there and let them run up and down the court without slowing them down? And so, just like in the Army, if you mess up in the white phase, you go back to the red phase. And we spent so much time going back to the red phase instead of just letting them be on autopilot. You got the instructions, you got the offense, you know what coach wants you to do. Just go out there and do it. You don't need us to dictate the whole game. Coaches don't want to coach the whole game. I know. No. I don't. We don't want to coach the whole game. We want what to do. And if you got a good point guard, then the coach is out there coaching the whole game. So that's what we want to do, is stay out of that red phase. And this year, I can say we never even went into the red phase this year. We went straight into the white phase, where all we did, we jumped straight in and started talking offense and defense, and seeing who fits here or who fits there. We didn't even have to go back to the, hey, listen to what I say, don't argue with me. We didn't have to go back to that phase, which was a blessing, because we spent most of last season at that phase. So when we get to the blue phase, to where they're on autopilot, they're gonna be dangerous. They're gonna be dangerous. They're gonna be something to see.
Yeah, and we want that for them. One thing I can say about Coach that I picked up on, and no knock, like you said, because all coaches are different. It's not about us. Not about us. The fact that we're allowed to coach them is our reward and satisfaction. Them getting on the court and executing the game plan is for them to reap those rewards and accolades that they want so badly. So, when you have a group that, you can see that hunger and that desire, then look, all we're going to do is feed you. We're going to feed you everything you need to get there. If there's any questions, let's discuss it, because, again, the more dialogue that we have, the better it's going to show on the court. And it's funny, again, just a laughing moment from last year. We had a situation, and Coach said, "What is he thinking?" I said, "Coach, he's not." And we laughed for a good 3 minutes. So it was just so much of us trying to figure that out. And everybody has a moment. We try to limit those moments, because at the end of the day, it's basketball. It's what you love to do, and do it to the best of your ability. And we want them to play free. We don't want robots. And right. Part of that, again, is buying in, knowing the plays, knowing the expectation, and go do it from there. And it's funny because, be a coach, as they call us, we may be considered old school. So with the way that the game is played today, we have to have those open discussions constantly so that they can understand where we're coming from, what must be part of our game plan and how we play to be able to shoot the threes the way that they do today. I feel like everything involves in life. So the game of basketball has evolved. I believe Golden State and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, they made the game beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
But they also, in a sense, destroyed the game. And I say that because now every team wants to play that style. But guess what? Every team is not blessed to have the shooters that they have to have played that style. And I think somewhere along the way, some have lost sight of how you build a basketball team and play the game. So, I don't think it's a cliche, you live by the jump shot, you die by it. I still think there's a lot of truth to that. And it's evident now with what's happening with Golden State, still trying to play that style without Klay Thompson, and they're not as successful. So that's what we try to get them to understand, is that we're not just playing the game, we're thinking the game. And as long as it's as in a rhythm and flow of the game, we welcome that. But that post player down there, if you don't feed him, he's not going to rebound. He's not going to play defense. He's not going to call out strings. So I think you still need that element of that 4 or 5 that can go down and be effective on the block. And guess what? It's great if he can pop out and hit a 3-pointer. But guess what? We don't need him to do that because we have enough 1, 2s, and 3s to do that. So we like to think of that as a situation if we're going to bring him out to do that. But that's not a set play for us because, again, what's the purpose? What purpose is it serving?
Right.
So,
and even with us, like we went over the stats, and we talked about not every open shot is a good shot.
Right.
Because we went 18 for 50 from 3-point land. So you're not going to sit here and tell me that those 32 shots were open shots or good shots, and we just missed them. They were bad shots, and we missed them.
Yeah.
18. Either we got to get better at shooting the 3, or we got to take less threes. Because that 18 for 50, that can get us in trouble. Like I said, we could die by it like that.
And me and trust me, that will be the last game we shoot 53s.
Yeah, like Coach Brown was saying about players needing to shoot the 3, needing not to shoot the 3, and talk about the Golden State Warriors. Remember, Steve Kerr was like an assistant coach to Coach Popovich, who is notorious for defense and notorious for having a system in place. So even like before, you saw Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, Green and company was like, hey, like, we're going to play hard, we're going to play physical, and we're not going to make things comfortable. Like, that was their DNA. Then, as you were saying, they was blessed to have the shooters who just, Steph shooting half-court shots and making it. But, yeah, I was watching the game film, and I was just like, I'm not a ball player anymore. But I know what a good shot should look like, and I know what a bad shot looks like. And there was a lot of times I'm just watching the film, not even as like a videographer, but just like someone who enjoyed watching the game of basketball. And I'm just like, why is he pulling up and shooting a 3 when there's nobody in the center to even get the rebound? Like, that don't even, like, from a basic perspective, that don't even make sense. Like, forget about technical stuff, like just basic 101 stuff. Like, you should have at least 2 of you guys down low and somebody boxing out just so you can get the rebound. I did not see that. I was like, yo, what is this? What is this?
And see, to piggyback on that, and this is another big discussion where you know, being coached last year as far as that teaching the game and thinking the game, and when we broke it down to them and made them understand, it started to sink in. I said, you'd rather play offense than defense. Everybody understands that's the glamorous end of the court. I said, but when you're taking quick shots, and to me, a quick shot is when you're not in rebound position, the floor is not balanced, and you still have 12 seconds or better on the shot clock. That's a quick shot to me. And like Coach said, every open shot is not a good shot. So now that quick shot that's missed turns into a transition, and which we like to call quick shots or turnovers. So now we didn't make them play defense but 4 or 5 seconds. And they really didn't play defense because there was no ball movement. There was a dribble pull up. Now we're back on the other end playing defense. So if we want to get better and limit those possessions, we have to take better shot selection. And we take pride in our offense that we can get any shot we want. So you don't have to force anything. And this year, this first scrimmage, I think, Coach, I think it was some excitement from them that prompted that. But then we thought about it. We've added 3 more shooters. And when we counted, we were like, man, we actually got 6 knockdown shooters that you don't want to leave open. So that kind of made us back off of it some. But then when we looked at the film, it was like, oh, no. That was too fast. Look at the floor balance. Look at the rebound position. Now, look at what happens on that missed shot. We're not balanced to get back in transition defense, and it either turns into a layup or 3 for them. So we had about 3 possessions where, quick shots led into a 6 to 9 point swing. Whereas you look at the score, we beat them 130 to 94.
Right.
Realistically, like coaches mentioned, it could have been about 160 to 74 with just a little bit more patience. So, we're still early. We have 2 more scrimmages, and we feel like with more time in the lab and again, stressing, what we want on that offensive end, it's going to be better. So by the time we hit the floor, the second week of February, you're going to see a more polished, focused group than what you saw in that first scrimmage.
And looking at the threes too, Coach, just looking at the stats of the 18, I think 9 or 10 came from Yeshua and with Jarris or something like that.
Yep, you got Henderson. You got Henderson
50%.
who went 3 for 4. You got Jenkins who went 3 for 4. You got White who went 3 for 5, and you got Tim who went 4 for 6.
Right. So the lesser, the people that were shooting a lower percentage shot more than the people that were shooting the higher percentage. So our hottest guys shot the less amount of threes, and the colder guys shot the more amount of threes. See, we can't go tick for tat where you hit one now. I got to hit one. On a hot hand, you got to feed it until he's no longer hot. Just feed it till he's no longer hot, and be okay with that guy having 50 and you having 25 assists. So we got to make sure the right shooter is shooting them, because we know everybody can shoot threes on any given day. It's going, Nick could have been Yeshua, or somebody else could have been Jarris on any given day. But on that day, their arm should have been tired. Because if he went 3 for 4, I guarantee you he would have went 6 or 7 for 10. Because that's how those two were feeling that day. If we would have just kept getting those guys more shots, and you take away the threes in transition where no passes went, if we slow it up and get it to the 75% 3-point shooter, that's 3 points. Where it's not a 6-point turnaround where we give up 3, we miss a 3 and then give up 3. So if we can figure those kind of things out on the court to where we don't have to point them out as coaches, hey, this guy is hot and he's shooting a high percentage. Why would I shoot? And I'm 1 for 7. Give it to the guy that's 3 for 4, the guy that's 4 for 4, and let's ride him till the wheels fall off. When he gets cold, then we'll find the next hot hand. That's how you play the game of basketball. It's not about who hits. It's about it gets hit. That's my philosophy. Every shot that goes in the basket is a point for Team Grizzly. At the end of the game, I don't look and say, well, I had 17, 18, 19. I look and say, we had 147 to their 110. And if we can get people to see that, then we'll be good. And that's kind of that point guard mentality. He has to see that. That's why we can't have fragile conversation, because I got to be able to say, hey, don't throw it to him, throw it to him. And you can't take it personal as well, y'all. You don't want that guy to score. You just want that guy to score. No, it's for the betterment of the team. This guy's on fire. Why would you call up the play up and then run it to the opposite side of the 75% shooter? Point guard, you got to see that. You got to notice that.
Yep, and we had that, doing a few games last year where we had a player, I won't even say hot. He was he was an inferno. He was a volcano. And Coach Woody had hit 4 or 5 straight
in a row.
And we came down. I don't know if it was hurtful, but we went away from him. And I grabbed Coach and I said, what are we doing? What are we thinking? And he hit me back. Well, I said, Coach, he won't think it. So it was like we said, we have those joking moments because it's like, come on, guys. We're getting back to playing the game again, and we don't play. We think the game. And I think that process, like you said, is it helps grow. And now this year, having you on board and being able to watch the video and see it, like they say, the ball don't lie. The video definitely doesn't, and it shows you, things that they don't think about doing the game that me and Coach are looking at and we see, and it's the little things. It's those little attentions to detail that separates good teams from great teams and great teams from championship teams. So we strive and like you said, we don't let off of that, because again, not that they're kids, they're basketball players, but you have to constantly reinforce and constantly again establish this is who we are, and we shouldn't have to discuss it every time. You know what we're going to do. This is what's expected. And
leaving last year, Coach, just imagine, how we was talking about what are we missing? What are we missing? Believe it or not, Shady, what you're doing is helping us so much. It's helping us so much, because I could have went in there with that and gave them those same numbers just off my memory without any tape. But when I got tape to back it up, it really enforces what we're saying, that we're not just getting on you because we don't like you. We're getting on you because this is what the film said. And from a coach's perspective, this is much. This is like having 4 or 5 assistant coaches right here.
Yes, it is.
That's a whole lot of eyes that can see it help the coach. But also from a player's perspective, and I think, Coach, believe it or not, we're going to have to drill this home to them, which we think we wouldn't have to. Watch the film. Yeah. Watch the film. Watch the game. Don't watch what you did. Watch what you didn't do. And watch what everybody else did and how you can help them be better on the floor. But with what you got for us, Shady, I'm telling you, it's a blessing, because we not only are we trying to play professional and act professional, but now we're going to look professional. And when we can have this game film to back up what we're saying, oh, bro, there's no limit to the numbers that we can break down. And I could tell you how many dribbles that you took before you get into the shot. Nick, when you take 2 dribbles, you ain't going to hit. Nick, when you take 1 dribble, and if you ain't got your feet cocked to the right, there's so much data that we can get from this to help them become better basketball players. And if they don't buy into what we're saying, they got to buy into what they're seeing.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful, just to be part of the team and, to do my part, really, to make you guys' jobs easier, which is the coach. And every good team that I know always watches film of what they've done. And they try to figure out, like, okay, well, Shadi, like, how can you do better with the camera angles? All right, cool. and then I integrate that, and then that's my job. My job is give you guys that good data, that good audio, that good data, that quality definition that you can clearly see. Hey, so and so, like, why you didn't box that guy out? You're
Right.
6'7", you're 6'5". Little man should not be dominate you like that. Like that don't make sense. Like
Yeah,
that don't make sense.
yeah, Shade. Look, we had a good laugh at you after the scrimmage because as
Oh
soon
man.
as whether it's after practice or after the scrimmage or game, we're on the phone. We're on the phone till we get home. We walk in the house and we're on the phone probably for another hour. So coach had an event after that scrimmage that night, so we couldn't talk. But I had got the film and everything, and I probably had watched it twice already. He hadn't watched it. So I said, Coach, you watched the film yet? He was like, no, I ain't had a chance yet. I said, man, look, we got some more work to do. I said, that film, we got some work to do, Coach. And he said, Coach, 130 to 94. I said, Coach, we got work to do. So
Nah,
I
nah.
said, after you watch it, let's talk again. So when we talked again, he was like, Coach, you're right. I was pissed too. But then the more we watched it, because I think both of us probably watched it about 10 times, we started breaking it down in segments, and we saw, okay, minor, 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 but enough minor things can turn into something major. And we went back to practice, came in, coach had a checklist, and probably for the first 40 minutes of practice, that was practice. And we discussed those things. And you know, one thing that we've always talked about right from the start is winning the hustle game. You know, getting to the loose balls, not allowing second chance shots, being in the passing lane, and that alone on Saturday was something that we saw that we could correct a little bit better, and we focused on that. So, like you said, with the film, it just gives us another tool to be better at our craft and help them grow as a team. And like you said, it's getting them to see, hey, don't look at your crossover. Look at how you use that screen. You know, did you go hip to hip? Did you run your man into that screen? So those are the little attentions to detail that the film helps us when we go back and practice. This is what we need to focus on. And like Coach said, it's funny. We laughed about it. Both of us, that photogenic memory from the games where we don't need the film, but if you're going to give us the film, man, you just gave us a whole new mixing board.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it benefits us greatly. So definitely added part. And Shady, one more thing that you mentioned about the dribbling part. And again, it's a generation thing, you know. It's
Right.
always the handles, and you know, you speak to Kyrie Irving or you know those guys. And one thing that we're big on about the offense is not killing the rhythm because you're beating the ball to death. So if you can't make a play for your teammate with 3 or 4 dribbles, if you can't make a play for yourself or your teammate, move the ball. Anything more than that, the rhythm of the offense is done, and you have 4 players standing around watch you play with the ball. And that was another thing that we were big on last year, is just like, no, ball movement is going to create the open shots. Not you thinking that you're going to cross somebody over and the defense is waiting on you to load up on you when you come to the rack. So I think that's been a major growth point for us, that we've taken a lot of error out of the ball from our guards. So,
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So it was a good first session.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Excellent. So how you plan on doing it, Shade? Are you going to crop it